give up. Don't give up. Go out there, make it happen. Try to outdo yourself, today, tomorrow, the following day, and, see how much you could push yourself to that limit.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Unleash Your Power. This is your host, Jeffrey Pinzon. Super excited to have everybody tuning in today. I'm super excited about today's podcast. We're going to have the great pleasure of interviewing one of my great friends. And today is special because I've been able to see this gentleman's transition, his growth in the last couple years, not only in his personal life, but also in his business, right? So I'm excited about having him today, sharing his story on all the setbacks, the challenges, and how he's been able to come on top despite anything that's going on in his life. So I'm super excited to have Matthew on our podcast. Matthew, thank you so much for joining us today, brothers. Like, we had to do this a long time ago, man, and we've been prolonging it, but finally we're able to make it happen. So thank you for being on our show today. Real quick, a little bit, so the audience, everybody that's watching this podcast or listening to it, can you tell us a little bit about who you are? Who's Matthew? Let's actually go back in high school, right? Who was Matthew in high school? Who was that young kid, that young stud? Tell us a little bit about who that gentleman was. Where you from, and like that, the audience could get to know a little bit about you.
Yeah, definitely. And Jeffrey, I really appreciate the opportunity being on this podcast. Yeah, like, it should have happened a long time ago.
Yeah.
But no, I'm 27 years old right now, and back in high school, man, I was a totally different person. And it's crazy because the transition is just insane. Because what happens is, back in high school, I was, a super shy kid. I didn't really talk to anybody.
Really?
And I was just in a shell. I was definitely in a shell. I was just, focused on, going through high school, taking care of that, and already starting like my business. My business. I wanted to get something. I wanted to do something in business. So, but I didn't know how to go about it. So, I started.
What sparked that interest of getting into business?
This was, man, I've always had that mindset, and it's crazy because, like, I was, I think, about 14, 15 years old. Like, I saw my parents struggle a little bit, especially in high school. When I got dropped off, 6:30 in the morning before my dad went to work. And, he only gave me like $5, maybe $10 the most for lunch. And I looked at it and I'm all like, man, this is it, like in my head. And I was like, all right, cool, I got to make it work.
Right.
So I just, and it's crazy because, like, what I started to do, and, I'm lucky that I have, now my wife. Back then, we were going out in high school. But what happened was, when lunchtime came, I was, we were literally sharing food, and
you and your girlfriend, wife now,
yes, So we were sharing her. I was actually sharing her food because what I was doing is I was just, saving my money, because at the time, I was so young, I wasn't able to get a job, I wasn't able to work, so I was like, how am I supposed to make money? So that's when, after school, I would search up, how to make money. And I just wanted to thrive already. I just wanted, okay, let's finish high school, and what's the next thing? And I wanted to just break that generational curse where we all do. We all want to be successful in life, and that's one thing. Is just, I think that's what drove me. Just not having as much when I was smaller, or now when the time comes when I do have kids, I want to give them everything that they want. But then I also want to show them, hey, you do need to work hard for yourself, because that's what my dad showed me. By him giving me $5, like, if it wasn't for him doing that, I think I would have everything, but I don't. But the whole point of this is going above and beyond, showing how much you could push yourself.
Right.
Because what happens in life is just like, we all have a certain limit, in life where, like, okay, I could only take this much. I can only take this much. As far as like working, like, some people could work 12 hours, 8 hours, 3 hours a day. And, and when it comes to my work ethic, I want to just surpass that. I want to see what my limit is. And, throughout the years, I've been doing that. and I've been seeing a big, big growth, to that.
So you touched on back in high school, you were in your shell, right? You wanted to thrive, but you didn't know how to. So share with us, what were some things that you implemented, right, in order for you to start getting out of that shell, in order for you to start becoming comfortable with your own skin and being able to trust yourself a little bit more, right? Because a lot of people go through that, right? They're afraid of looking bad, or at the same time, they want to look good. Since they don't take the action because they want to look good first, right?
Yeah,
so what were some stuff that you implemented to start getting out of that shell, to start being comfortable in your own skin, right? Because a lot of people could be going through the same situation, man, that they think they have the vision, but they don't have the strategy, right?
Yeah.
What were some strategies that you started implementing in order for you to get out of that shell?
So, I mean, one of the biggest things when I jumped out of that shell, I was afraid. I did have that fear of like, what would people say? What did, if I don't do this right, how are people going to think about me? So once I just threw that out of the way, I was like, no, like, what am I doing? Like, I'm gonna let somebody's opinion hold me back on what to do and how to live my life. Like, when you want to succeed in life, you're not gonna have anybody stop you. And that's one thing is like it's all a mindset. It's all a mindset, and it is tough. It is tough, every day. It's not like I'm a perfect person. We're not perfect at all.
Right.
But it's a mindset and every day, and that's one thing. Like when it comes to like my morning routine. I go to the gym for that reason. It's not just physical; it's also mental.
Right.
So just going through that aspect is just that's one of the biggest things right now. It's really about mindset, right. When it comes to that.
That's interesting, man. So, but going with that, let's go a little bit deeper there, right? Because sometimes you could have the right mindset, but you're in the wrong environment, right? You have the naysayers. Sometimes it's even your closest people, right?
Yeah,
especially
definitely.
in the type of business that we're in. Like the majority, we've been programmed to get a good paying job, get security, right? Get insurance, all this stuff. You went the opposite, right? Instead of you getting a 9 to 5, you went out there and was like, how can I get in this commission business where I have to go out there and provide value for other people in order for me to get compensated, right?
Yeah, definitely.
How was that like, right? Because I'm sure that you had people on your ears like, hey, what are you doing?
Oh, yeah.
How did you surpass that? What were some challenges that you encountered in the process?
So in the beginning, when and we're still talking about high school, I was I believe I was a junior or senior. I ended up working at Vaughn's. So it was about 5, maybe 7 minutes away from my house, and my parents would always go there. They would shop, for the groceries, and there was this one time where my mom mentioned, to this one lady, very nice lady, and she was like, hey, my son's looking for work, and she was able to help me get that job. So, she...
At Vaughn's.
At Vaughn's, yes, And I was like, all right, cool, whatever, that's fine. It's 5 minutes away, like, let's just make it happen. So, and that's one thing, like you mentioned, like, there is going to be a lot of people that are going to, try to get in your way, try to, help, because that's what we're all programmed to do. But I wasn't satisfied. I wasn't satisfied. It wasn't that I didn't want to do that. I didn't see myself doing that. I was there for 2 years, but I was there just to make ends meet. And I remember at the time I was only part-time, but I was only making like $12,000 a year, I believe. So it was nothing. And then especially with with all the expenses, I was like, why am I working for it?
Right.
Yeah. So when it came to that, I met a lot of different people there at Bonds, and I got into the moving business. So I was moving high-end clients. So I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to be more active. I'm going to be in different areas and different times, and kind of see the bigger picture of life. So that's what also motivated me. Okay, what's that next step? And how am I going to utilize that to get even further in life?
Right.
So so now we're in the moving business. I did that for about 1.5 years, and the schedules were crazy. It was, you know, we would move. It was like from 6 a.m. to until the job was done. So if it was a big house, so we had our team out there, you know, moving stuff around, and it was just constant moving, lifting, and but when it came to that, though, even in that aspect, I was like, I made sure I was quick because it's all about speed and just, you know, taking everything out, loading it up in the truck, and from then that's when, like, you know, a lot of the leaders there, they said, hey, I want to work with Matthew. I want to work with Matthew. I want him. I want him to be a part of of our job today, just because of my work ethic, and you know, when it comes to work, like I'm laser focused. You know, I'm laser focused, and one thing that I've learned, you know, being here, I'm gonna go off topic real quick, is, you know, it's managing your focus, not your time, and that's one thing that I was like, wow, you know, once I heard that, I was like, wow, it's right, you know, because we could be so sidetracked where, you know, thinking that we're managing our time well, and we're not.
Right.
But yeah, when that time came, you know. That's when I ended up, you know, looking at other, you know, jobs, and then I found back in 2016, I ended up finding I applied on Indeed, and it was an alarm position for like home security, and it was so I walked in, and, you know, I had no clue what I was getting myself into.
Interesting.
And I remember I applied December in it was 2015. And then in 2016 of January, that's when I actually started. It was the last 2 weeks. And yeah, I found out that it was a door-to-door sales position. So I'm like, okay, well, let's try it out. You know, let's see where this takes me. And that's where I got out of my shell. That's where I learned, you know, how to speak, you know, how to, you know, the grit to it, because it takes a lot of grit.
Absolutely.
Especially, like, nobody is comfortable knocking at a random stranger's door, saying, hey, you know, do you guys want alarms?
Right.
But when it came to that, I was just like, all right, I'm here to do one thing, and I'm gonna be able to help them out.
Correct.
So when it comes to me, you know, helping out families, like, I'm real big on taking care of them. You know, as far as, you know, making sure they get the best deal. You know, because at the end of the day, I look at it as helping them out versus the money, because the money's always going to be there.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, that's where I learned a lot of my on the doors. You know, I learned a lot, you know, about you know, leadership and knocking. Yeah.
That's interesting, man. And we'll touch a little bit right now on the door knocking and the evolution that you experience. But you touch on a few things, right? You started at Vaughn's, right? At Vaughn's, what did you do?
I first started off as a bagger.
As a bagger, right? Yeah. And then you transitioned to now helping people move their belongings to their new property. You were able to touch the dream, I'm guessing, because now you're in high-end homes looking at how other people are living, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And you're able to experience that. I think that sparked your interest of wanting more out of life, right? Because you're like, man, this person's living here, having the best time of their lives, right? Having a great property, like, how can I get there, right? A lot of people, and this is one thing that I've seen in the years that I've known you, your transition, right? You're always willing to grow, you're always willing to learn, and you never settle, right? A lot of people could have seen that same situation and continue moving other people's properties, right? You were like, man, how can I get to the next step? How can I evolve and get better, right? There's nothing wrong with what I'm doing, right? Yeah. It's providing a living, right? I'm doing it legit. I'm not doing anything illegal, but I want more, right? I want more. That's why you started looking into the alarm industry, and now you transition into now creating yourself, right? Because one thing about sales, man, and I learned this when I was very young. I was that kid that will sell anything, chips, drinks, clothes, you name it. It gave me the ability to grow and become better as a human being and understand my struggles within myself, right?
Exactly.
Like sales, it allowed you to, like you mentioned, it allowed you to get out of that shell, right? It allowed you to touch it, to go deeper within you. You knew that you had something inside, but you didn't know how to tap into it yet.
Exactly.
Right? So let's touch on that, because now You got into the door to door. You mentioned right now that, man, it's knocking on that door it's one of the hardest things, right? Because you don't know who's behind that door, what type of energy they have.
Yeah.
If they had a horrible day, they're gonna transmit that to you. So, what was some of that struggle that you encountered at the doors? What did you learn about yourself, right? Because sometimes we think that we know it all, but then when really something happens, you know that you don't know what you don't know, right?
Exactly, yeah. So when it comes to that, I mean, I remember in the alarm industry that, I had 2 days of training, and they said, all right, you're on your own. We'll drop you off in the neighborhood. Go out there. And, they allowed me to knock. I believe it was like 8 hours, and then we got picked up. Something like that. But just learning the aspect of that fear, yeah, who's on that other side of the door. And when it comes to that, it's just, especially when I first started, I was afraid.
Of course.
And I was like, what are they gonna say? How are they gonna respond? Especially when it comes to rejection, we get that all the time.
Right.
And that's what allowed me to build that rejection, because like it's normal now.
It wasn't all good since the beginning, right? What were some challenges that you encountered, and what did you learn about yourself? What showed up, right? Because sometimes we think when it comes to sales, man, I remember learning myself, right? I sold from the trunk of my car before I got into the door-to-doors. I knew how if I had a relationship with someone, it was easier for me to sell, because now I'm able to now tell you, hey, this is my product, right? This is what I have. This is how much it is, right?
Yeah.
At the door, it's completely different, because now you're knocking and you're working with a complete stranger, right? So for me, when I was at the doors, I blanked out multiple times, right? It took me a long time it took me 3 weeks for me to close my first deal,
Okay,
right? But the doors for me, it was a challenge, right? And I accepted that challenge, right? Even though I was fearful, like there was things right there that I knew that it was gonna help me improve, right? So when it comes for you to door knock, like what were some challenges that ignite that inspiration to, man, I gotta get better. I gotta go out there and become a better person so I could be better at the doors, right?
Oh, definitely. So yeah, one of the challenges that I've had is, when it came to door knocking, yeah, I didn't know who was on that other side of the door, and whatever I said at that door at that moment, and if they said no, then I walk back to the next door and hit the next one. But then in that time, in that short gap, I'm thinking, okay, what could I have done better? How could I, said these words differently, in a better aspect where it made more sense to them. Because when it comes to door to door, like it is, you do learn a lot. You learn, a lot about yourself. You learn how to, speak, as well. But most importantly, it's building that relationship with that family, that potential family. Once you build that relationship with them, and then of course you get the number, you set the appointment. But yeah, that's one of the biggest things right now when it comes to one of the challenges. But it's just going from the first door to the last door, because it's the repetition. It's the repetition, hitting all those doors, saying that same pitch, or mixing it up a little bit, learning what works as well. And that's one thing, like what I've mastered is figuring out a pitch that works, that works, and then just ride off with that.
Right. That's awesome, man. Because I know, again, man, if you guys are watching this or hearing this, if you have an opportunity to get inside a business that could either help you cold call or get on the doors, you're gonna learn so much about yourself, right? It's not only making money, earning money, but the person that you become in the process that's priceless. Because it doesn't matter what profession you do, right? Right now we're in the solar industry. You were in the alarm industry before, right? He took that knowledge that he learned at the door-to-door selling alarms to now transitioning into solar, right? You could take everything with you, because at the end of the day, if things hit the fan, right, your business whatever profession you're in right now. You could be in real estate, you could be in insurance, you could be a mortgage, you could be solar, you could be selling alarms. But at the end of the day, if things hit the fan and you learn all that information, you're able to transition faster. You're able to pivot faster because now you take you with you.
Exactly,
right?
yeah.
You take you with you, so you're able to now provide that value to other people. That's why if you have an opportunity of getting in door to door or in sales, specifically in sales, you're going to learn so much that you'll never have an issue of how to earn a living, right? Because now you take that value, that information with you. Matthew transitioned from alarms to solar, right? I remember when I met you, I actually met you through OfferUp, right?
Yeah,
It was and the power of you reaching out, right? That's why you can't be afraid of reaching out to people. You were in the alarms. I had just transitioned to another alarm company. You had your ad, right?
Yeah.
You were promoting yourself,
Yeah.
right? You were building your business at the same time. We reached out, we connected. What made you at that moment, right? You're in another solar company. You don't know me whatsoever, right? What motivated you to transition and trust the opportunity that we were providing you, right? Because you were in another company. You went in there. I saw your ad. I'm like, let me reach out to this young man. Man, he was sharp. He reminded me a lot of when I was little, well, younger, right? When I first started in the sales industry, he was hungry, right? He didn't have a plan together completely, but he knew that he wanted more, right? You knew that you wanted more. So what made you take that leap of faith, right?
So, I mean, when it comes to that, I mean, I remember at the time where, you messaged me and I was playing hard to get at.
Right.
But, and when it comes to that though, I saw that, I'm just going to be transitioning into another alarm company. Not only that, the equipment was a lot better. It was more updated. And that was the biggest thing for me. I was like, hey, if you guys are doing a newer system, then why not? And of course, the pay was a lot more too. So I was like, yeah, let's do it. So that's when we met in Downey, and we pretty much, you went over everything, and I'm like, all right, yeah, let's get started. Mm-hmm. But also too that what I saw in you was the leadership. Mm-hmm. Because not everybody has it. Mm-hmm. And I believe, when it comes to, getting into an industry, finding the right leader, that's able to lead every single day, and it's not just me, you're leading, a bigger team as well. So, that takes a lot of effort, from your day too. But the leadership, I saw that within you, and I told myself, I'm like, hey, I see something bigger with yourself. Mm-hmm. So I was like, hey, I want to get to that level. Mm-hmm. So again, like when it comes to me, like, okay, what's that next step? Mm-hmm. So that's what I saw in you when we sat down at that time. Mm-hmm. So that's where I was like, hey, I want to be at this level. I want to start helping others make money as well too.
Right.
And that's when I wanted to do that since when I first started doing door to door. Right. And it all takes time learning that process. Right. As well. But yeah, that's one of the things that
and I think like throughout the process, right, you touch on it. It takes time, man. We're so used to instant gratification. We want the results now. Mm-hmm. Like it took you a while to get over 6 figures, right? You didn't do that overnight. Neither did I, right? It takes a while. It takes consistency, right? Discipline, the repetition. A lot of people, they want it now. That since they don't get it now, they stop. And sometimes they stop 3 feet from gold, right? I know when you transition from the alarms to solar, like there is a gap where you practically didn't do anything. Yeah. Right? Uh-huh. COVID hit, right? You stopped doing alarm. You stopped. I think we had like a little disconnection at that moment. Like, what were some things that were going on in that process? Because now you're like, oh, what's next, right? Yeah, you're always trying to evolve, but now you're stagnant. Like, what were some stuff that was going through you at that moment? Right? What were some challenges?
So when it came to that time, I mean, it was a little hard. I was shutting down a little bit.
Why?
And because COVID hit, we didn't know what was happening. So I shut down, and I wanted to play it safe, right?
Interesting.
And I sold myself to that for a little bit. And then I'm at my house, doing nothing, watching, relaxing, watching TV, spending time with now my wife. But I always talk to myself, and that's the most important thing. Like when it comes to a sales position, is having that self-talk.
Right.
But yeah, at that time, I was talking to myself, and I'm all like, "What am I doing here?" Like, and at that time we just moved. It was near Palmdale. And, so I was at this new house, in my room watching TV. And I'm like, yeah, what am I doing? It's like, this is not me. And that's when I went on Indeed, try to find a job. But then I was applying for all these jobs, and I'm all like, what am I doing still? I was like, this is not me either.
It felt uncomfortable?
So, yeah,
okay,
I felt uncomfortable. And, I got a couple calls, there was this one job in Beverly Hills for it was sales. It was for sales over the phone for, I think, medical insurance or something like that. So I did that for the training and all that. It was like a week and a half or something. I got paid one time, and it was like $500 or something. And I'm all like, why am I wasting my time doing this? So then I was telling my girlfriend at the time, my wife, and I was all like, and I saw that you got into solar, so yeah. I was all like, all right, let's do it. Like, like I knew what you have in you, and I knew what we did in the alarm industry.
Yeah.
So I was all like, all right, let's take it to that next level.
Yeah.
Because at the time, I've been doing alarms for 4 years.
Yeah.
So I was comfortable at that time doing alarms, and then that's when COVID hit. But that's when I told my girlfriend, I was like, hey, you know what? I'm going to be working with Jeffrey. I'm going to be doing solar.
And what was that conversation like?
And she was all like, oh, man, not another sales job or something like that. Yeah, she said that. And I was like, damn. In my head, I'm like, damn, really? She really just said that. I'm like, all right, let's do it. So that's what lit the fire in me.
Interesting.
That's what lit the fire in me, and I remember her saying like, "Oh, if you don't get a deal, you better find a job or something." And I'm like, okay. And we have those conversations, just because of our relationship. But and I was laughing, but I'm like, all right. I was like, and I already knew, like, I believe you broke down, everything on how it worked and the pay and all that. So I'm like, all right, cool. So I was already. When you told me that, I analyzed, what the potential is, how many families can I help out to get to that, to that goal.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it's gonna follow. By helping out families, the money's gonna follow.
Right.
But I like doing it like that because I know what my goals are. Because you have to plan it out, right?
Right.
And
so it's interesting, right? Because your family is only looking out for your best interest, right? And sometimes, in one thing that I noticed right now, like that was your trigger mechanism, right?
Yeah.
They told you, oh, like there's gonna be an issue, right? And you're like, oh, I'm here to prove you guys wrong, right?
Yeah.
It allowed you to tap into that greatness that we all have within, but just sometimes we don't tap into it, right? Because we're afraid, right? That fear stops us, it paralyzes us. But that's interesting from you sharing that with us right now. How you use that to your advantage, right? I remember at the time when I started into sales back in alarms, like we have similar stories. My wife at the time was my girlfriend. We had just moved in, same thing. She's like, dude, go get a job. Like, you're crazy, you're not making money. Like, if you don't go out there and sell, like, how are we gonna support our family, right? But sometimes we gotta go through those struggles, right?
Yeah.
We have to go through those struggles because I was just listening the other day to an interview of Patrick McDavid and Andrew Tate. He touches on that. He's like, on my worstest, that's when I transform my life. Because when you're at your worst, that's when you're able to see what you're made out of. Right?
Exactly, yeah.
Sometimes when you're winning so much, you get comfortable, Then you start going back to bondage. You start getting comfortable. You stop doing the things that got you there.
Getting
right?
that financial temperature.
Exactly, right? We always talk about our financial temperature. You being at that moment when you had shut down, right? You didn't know what to do. You wanted to get back into sales. Your girlfriend's like, dude, like, what are you doing? Go get a job, right? You went in through this whole process to do the insurance thing. You didn't do it. And then now you jumped into sales, right?
Yeah.
How was that like? Because now you have everybody looking at you. You have your mom, your dad, your brothers, your sisters, right? Everybody around you looking at like, are you going to succeed or are you going to fail, right?
Yeah.
How did that drive you, man? Because sometimes we need that pressure, right? We thrive on that pressure if you're able to capitalize on it. So what was that like for you?
Honestly, it was the greatest transition. Like, when it comes to sales, like most importantly, like it's having that passion to do what you want to do. You have to fall in love with that product, or that industry. Because I mean, solar is not for everybody.
Correct.
But finding that
why did you choose solar?
It's a benefit. It's a benefit. We provide value, to the families in the home. We're saving them money. It's not an additional bill that they're going to pay as well. And that's one of the main couple of reasons why I chose solar. And but no, it's just having like that passion. When it comes to that field.
Right. I think like with you, Matt, one thing that I've learned myself from is in sales you're always gonna have ups and downs, right?
Yeah.
But the key is the more that you do it, the more ups that you'll have, the less downs that you have. But you're still gonna have downs, right?
Yeah.
And one thing that I've seen in you, right, that I love, is that whenever there's an issue, right, say an account doesn't go through or there's some challenges in the process, like you don't allow that to change your vibration, right? If you go past it, like if a customer decides not to move forward for some reason, they have a change of heart, you don't take that personal, right? You're like, all right, well, I did my part. I know that I provided value. I did the best that I can. I know something happened that I now need to learn, right? So this doesn't happen again, but I'm not going to dwell on that, right?
Yeah, no, definitely.
And you have that, like that's something huge that a lot of people could embody that, right? If they embody that, they'll have much more success. Because let's go back, right? You started into solar. There was a lot of months where you weren't producing.
Yeah.
Right? You actually were getting sidetracked.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you're right.
Let's touch on that. Like why did that happen? And what were some things that were going on in the process, right? Because you jumped into solar, but you weren't getting the results. Now you have the pressure of your family telling you like, hey, what's up? There's no results. What's going on? Right?
Yeah.
You say that this was the $1 million opportunity, but yet nothing's going on, right?
Yeah.
What was going on in that process, right?
So I mean, when it comes to like, it got sidetracked a little bit, and that's one thing. Like when I first started, I went all in. I didn't get results, but the thing is, I wasn't consistent. I wasn't, going above my potential. And I was, with some people came by, and we were looking at different business ventures.
Right.
And it's, the thing is like there's money everywhere you go, but it's like how you have to be a good fit for that.
Right.
And the thing is like you will get sidetracked, but at the end of the day is if you know that works, then continue doing it.
Right.
And like you mentioned, like you're 3 feet from gold, and that's one thing. Like I always keep in the back of my head, like, hey, I'm almost there. Hit one more door.
Right.
And that's when it comes to like it is a big mindset thing, when it comes to the doors. But the whole goal is to just be laser focused into the solar business, and you'll see big results.
So what can you tell people that maybe are experiencing that, right? They're getting sidetracked. They probably not getting the results that they want at this moment. What can you tell those people, right? Because now you're in a whole different position, right? Now the business is coming to you. Now you're able to serve other people, right? Now you're developing other people in the process. None of that would have happened if you would have not continued, right? You mentioned your 3 feet from goal. A lot of people give up 3 feet from goal, right? Because
and
of the attitude.
We've all seen it,
right?
We've all,
There's many people that have came through this door, gone, right? They make money, then something happens that a challenge hits, and they stop. They don't get the results that they wanted, right? Because they were anticipating the results, they didn't get it, so now they're like, you know what, let's go move on, right? You were kind of in that process. You stopped, you looked, and you decided to continue putting in the work into solar. What can you tell these people that maybe are going through that process right now?
So when it comes to that, it's you like when it comes to that, it's more of having a what we have here is special. It's the environment is really big. Being surrounded by everybody that wants to take it to the next level. But when it comes to that, I mean, it's just I mean, honestly, like I have more passion for this versus anything else, and that's real big. But honestly, just having faith, that's real. I'm real big on faith, because there are times where I might not get a sale, I might not help out so many families for that month,
right?
But I don't take it personal, because at the end of the day, we go out there and we can generate so much business, and the best part is there's no cap. So I'm all like, okay, cool, let's just keep going, on to the next one, on to the next one, on to the next one. And when I'm at the doors, I just think about like, okay, how can I outdo myself today?
Right.
How can I push myself to that next limit? Yeah.
That's interesting, man. I love that. I love that point of view, that perspective, because a lot more people need that perspective, right? Because if you change that, if you start looking at things that way, you start getting the results, man. It's like you're constantly looking at how can I evolve, right? It's not even about the perspective now. Is not even about the money.
No.
Right? It's like I know that the money is gonna come automatically if I just improve myself.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
If I raise my lid every single time, the money's gonna come because I'm gonna be attracting. I'm gonna be vibrating that energy. So the right people will come to you.
Yeah,
right?
Definitely. And it's just like by you putting in that work, I mean the output. I mean you're gonna it's gonna work.
Absolutely, man. So let's go a little bit like what are some proudest moments that you can remember that you're like, man, like I did that. Like, right? Because I there's a lot of stuff in my life that I'm like, wow, I did that, and it's sometimes we got to stop and look at that so we can remind ourselves, right? We got to look at the bad, we got to look at the ugly, but we also got to look at the beauty, right?
Definitely,
there's good, bad, and ugly in every situation. There's maybe times where you're like, man, how did I overcome that, right? But also, man, I'm so proud that I did this, right? So what are some proudest moments that you've experienced that you're like, man, I'm so happy for that. I'm so thankful.
So there's a couple. One of the first ones is, when I was driving my car at the time, it was a Toyota Corolla, and it was a lease. And I realized in this business we were, when it comes to a lease, you're throwing away your money. So I thought about that with my car. I was like, hey, man, I got to get a new car. So I ended up getting a Tesla. And that was, it's one of like the biggest purchases I've ever made. So I was super proud of myself, and it was a year. It was right when I started actually. Yeah, it was like 3 months in. So
and I remember that time, man, that you were so obsessed with that, like that manifesting, right? You wanted that so badly that you went out there, and that's when you got back on track. That's when you're like, dude, I need to produce here, right?
Yeah.
And I remember how that time that you brought your car here, like that excitement. I was super stoked about it. I'm like, man, this guy did it. He set a goal. He accomplished that goal, right? Now it's in the physical form. He has it. He's driving it. Like, I was so proud, man. And I know that in your case, like your parents looking at you, right? You left some security to now the unknown.
Yeah, definitely.
Right?
Definitely. And that's one thing is like, I was excited. And the thing is, like, I remember like mentioning it to my parents. They're like, "What is this?" And then I was like, "It's a Tesla." And they're like, "Oh man," like, but I mean, yeah, I mean that was one of my goals because I wanted. I mean, I was on a lease,
Yeah.
so I was like, I needed to purchase a car.
Right.
So it was just perfect timing.
Right.
It was perfect timing. That's when after that, that's when gas prices went up as well too. So
Right.
it actually helped me out a lot. Yeah, so my second proudest moment, it was the wedding.
Interesting.
The wedding was
beautiful wedding, by the way.
Beautiful, yeah. And it's just crazy to see, like, the ideas, from turning that idea and just creating it into the reality. Because I mean, we chose the venue, we chose the church date, but it was a little bit of a struggle, finding a venue. But yeah, we found one, had like city views. And it was great. It was a nice, scenery. But walking into that venue with all my family, friends in there, it was I was mind blown, just the adrenaline that I had, and just seeing, like, at that time, just in that chair in the love seat, I was just like, I was looking around and I'm like, man, like I really did this,
Right.
and everybody was enjoying their time with the whole family and my friends, and just seeing all that hard work getting put behind that, because a lot of people, they see all the good things that are happening, but it's all the back stuff that gets to all that work pretty much.
Right.
But yeah, that's one of the biggest things, when it comes to like one of my proudest, my second proudest moment.
Yeah, it was a beautiful wedding, man. That wedding was not cheap, right?
Yeah.
You put in work, right? You paid the money. You have great memories with that, and you were able to. It did something for you, right? And it's interesting, right? Because going back to it, when you want something, you make it happen.
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
You wanted the car, made it happen. You wanted to have a nice wedding. It was gonna cost, right? There was gonna be a cost. In return, you made it happen, right? You get out of your own way. In other words, right? Sometimes we're the persons that are in our own way the majority of the time. You get out of your own way because you have a goal. This is my goal. I want to have this beautiful wedding. I want to be able to share these moments with my loved ones. So I need to do what I have to do, right? There's no point of me making complaints, right?
Yeah,
Bitching, moaning, complaining. If I do that, that's not gonna get done, right?
Yeah.
So that's beautiful, man, because now you're able to set the next goal, and every goal that you do, that you accomplish, not only do you accomplish that goal, but you come out at the other side even better, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Because you mentioned, right, the struggles, what people don't see. They see the nice wedding, they see the car, right? They see you now you're gonna start investing into properties. They see all that, but they don't see the back work, right?
No, exactly. Yeah.
The knocking on the doors, the getting that rejection, the times that you don't even close a deal,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Going back home and not having, how did it go? Oh, I didn't get anything today.
Yeah.
Damn, now I gotta go back tomorrow and start all over,
Yeah.
right? How many times do we experience that we're going through it and it's just like part of the process?
Yeah, it's part of the process.
But it's so beautiful to see your transition, your growth, and now.
And one thing, I'm gonna cut you off real quick. One thing that I remember was, a lot of my family was, because I didn't tell nobody where it was at. They got the address, they showed up, and there was, we had our cocktail hour at the bottom floor, and they thought that was it, and everybody was asking, "Oh, is this it? Is this it?" And I just love hearing that, because it's just like they don't know what's next.
Yeah.
And I had a couple family members like, "Oh, this is it," and especially on my wife's side, they're like, "Oh, is this it?" And we didn't say nothing, but eventually, yeah, we did tell them, it's going to be on the top floor. But I remember I was thinking about my mom right now that she mentioned that a couple of the family members asked, how much was it? How much was it? And my mom, thought she knew the price, but it was a lot more than she thought, and she was all like, "What? You paid that much?" I was like, "Yeah, what do you mean? Like, you want nice things, you're gonna, you have to in my head, I was like, you want nice things, you got to put in that work.
And it's going to cost.
And it's going to cost, yeah. So, you know, I mean, for me, just hearing that coming out from my mom, I just felt, I was proud of myself,
Absolutely.
like, I didn't ask them for any help, I was able to take care of, all the costs, and all that. But yeah, I mean, that's one of the things, that I experienced, when it came to that time.
Beautiful, beautiful. All right. So now, Matt, I know that now you're having success in solar. You've experienced a level of success so far, right? You still have so much to go. But one of the great things now that I've seen is that since you've developed yourself, right? You've developed your skills, your communication skills with everything that you do. Now you're transferring that information, that knowledge to other people, right? In our company, man, you now you started growing your own business within the business. What are some things that has helped you, right, to now train and develop other people?
So one of the things that helped me is the mentorship. So I do thank you, Jeffrey, a lot for mentoring me through that. And the thing is that we have a system here, and the system works. And as long as you're coachable, we're able to, you're able to get to that level. But yeah, when it comes to that, yeah, that's one of the biggest things right now is, we do the environment, it's a great environment, it's family owned. But yeah, just experiencing that.
And what is that feeling that you get by helping other people and now actually seeing them get results, right? Maybe they didn't have results in the beginning. Now they come to you. They're coachable, right? They have that coachability and trait. Now that they're able to see results because of the training. How's that like, man? Because I know for me, helping other people, that's like my biggest thing, man. If I seeing you, your growth, your transition from where you started to now where you're at, and not only where you're going, right? Because it's only going to get better from here. Like, what does that do to you?
It brings me excitement. I mean, like when I first started in alarms, I was broke. I had no money. And that's what also drove me. There's a certain level where you're like, all right, like I'm done being broke, and you put that drive into yourself, and yeah, when it comes to that, it's you got to be at a certain low in order to just get that drive in.
Right. And now you're able to help out other people in the process, right?
And when it comes to that, helping out other teammates, it's just, it's exciting. I mean, because they're living a different lifestyle. They're coming from not door to door. They might be coming from a different industry or a job. But just seeing that growth, and the most important part, it's the being coachable. Having them become coachable.
Right.
Because when you're coachable, you're gonna get to that next level.
Right.
And you're gonna be able to experience success where you're like, man, I'm really succeeding at this business.
Right.
And just seeing that, it's like a domino effect.
Right.
And it's a good feeling. It's a really good feeling.
Absolutely.
And so yeah, when it comes to like door to door, like it's like that domino effect. Like you saw the growth in me, and now it's now I know all the knowledge, what to do, how to succeed at the doors, and what to implement. How many hours to put in.
Right.
And
now you have a system.
Yeah, I have a system in place now where now I could transfer that over to that next person that wants to succeed and just grow in the business. Because when it comes to our office, we're creating leaders in the company, and I feel like that's the most important part, because now you're not a number in the company, you're a leader, you're helping others lead, you're helping them close the deal. And just it's like that domino effect, So that's one thing that I like about it. Like I'm gonna mention one of the new guys that we have. He's 19 years old.
Right.
He's 19 years old. He's coachable, and when I'm out there with him, it brings me back to 2016, where when I was hungry for that.
Correct.
At the doors, and then I would tell him, hey, we're leaving, and then he's like, oh, already? Like hearing that was me 2016.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that like it drives me to keep pushing, and it.
That's interesting you say that, man, because yeah, it's like you regain a lot of energy back, right?
Yeah,
Because you're like, man, this guy wants it. I need to step up more because this
Yeah.
guy wants it. Like I gotta show him even more.
Like I can't let him outdo me.
Exactly. Yeah.
So but that's the whole goal when it comes to the doors. Like how much can you push yourself? Can you go 12 hours, 8 hours, or 3 hours? Because some there are some people like that, but it's totally fine. But it's just how far do you see that goal? Like where do you see your life in 5 years or 10 years from now? But yeah, that's what drives me. And one thing that I wish I could have done sooner is start at that age. I started doing door to door at 21.
Yeah.
So I wish I could have started at 19, and especially 19 being in the solar industry, not the alarm industry. Like it's a big jump.
Huge.
So I give him props on going out there, being hungry for it, and seeing what potential he has, for the future as well.
Absolutely, man, and he's following your footsteps, right? So that's allowing you to step up even more, because now it's not about you. Now it's about like, how can I help these people grow, right?
Yeah,
In the process, you grow yourself too, because now you're being more intentional with your growth, with your timing, with your schedule, right? With your preparation, right? Now you're anticipating things to provide more value.
Yeah.
And I think that to finish off, we have a couple more questions, but I want to touch on that, right? The solar industry, because that's part of that's where we're from, right? And this podcast is sponsored by UIS Energy, right? And our company, like he mentioned, we specialize in equipping homeowners on the right way of going solar, right? Talking about the good, the bad, the ugly. But we also have a second side of business, right? Where now we're kind of like a development company where we're helping other people become a better version of themselves, right? Provide a better living for their family. So not only are we helping families save thousands of dollars, right? Investing rather than throwing their money away, but we're also giving the opportunity for 19 years old, right? 18 years old, 20, 30, 40, whatever age you're at right now, wherever you're at this moment, you have an opportunity to come into this business and see what you're made of, right? Because we're constantly talking about development, right? Getting better, becoming a better version of yourself. And in our industry, we're able to get that, right? So now that's what he's doing with this 19-year-old Brandon. Shout out to Brandon, because he's been putting in a lot of work, and it's just amazing, right? If you want to be part of an organization like that, right, you got to be with the right people and know that it's not just about the money. Because if it's just about the money, you're going to fail. I could tell you that this much right now. If you focus on just the money is going to run away from you, right? If you're chasing the money will run. But if you build value and you give value to other people, you actually start magnetizing the right people, and that money starts coming to you, right?
And one thing I want to add on to that is like, talking about the money and helping the families out. Like, I got this, back when we went to Utah, sell more, kilowatts, sell more systems, and the money's going to be there. We hook up the families all the time.
Right.
And, we're not doing it at our full commission. We're helping them out, because at the end of the day, it's a passion.
Right.
It's a passion that we have, and we know that we're doing good to them.
Right.
And most of our business is referral based. So that's the benefit of it. You sell more kilowatts, and we help out the family more, then they're gonna refer us that business. So that's one thing that especially with our office, is what we focus on.
Absolutely. So where can Matt, everybody that is listening to this or maybe watching the podcast on YouTube, like where can they find you? And if they want to join your business, right? They wanna be mentored directly by you. How can these people find you?
So you guys can find me on Instagram. It's Relentless Visions. You guys can go ahead and send me a DM if you guys want to get started, see what we're about. And, it takes a couple months, to change your life. And so if you guys are ready for that, send me a DM, and we could talk more on there.
Awesome. Any last words to the audience?
Just don't give up. Don't give up. Go out there, make it happen. try to outdo yourself, today, tomorrow, the following day, and see how much you could push yourself to that limit. Because not everybody has, they just live their day by day, not pushing themselves to that limit. So push yourself to the limit, see where you're at in a year, and see what the potential that you could also have, because we all have that greatness inside of us.
Most definitely. Absolutely, man. I hope you guys got value, right? I wanted to have him on the podcast because he's right now on his road to success, right? He's getting there. He's in the process, and you get to see the journey, right? The struggles, the setbacks, the conversations with his parents, with his wife, everything on how the majority of us were going to encounter that, right? But how do you get surpassed that? How do you get to that next level, right? So if you guys, make sure that you guys subscribe to this channel, turn on the notification, like this video, share with other people. If this is providing you value, make sure that you share for other people, because the more that you share, the more that you're going to be able to impact other people. So again, thank you for tuning in today, Matt, my man. I'm so proud of you, brother.
Appreciate it.
Can't wait to see where you're going to be 5 years, 10 years from today. It's going to be amazing. So make sure that you guys continue, like the video, subscribe, share with other people. Take care, guys.